I'd like to talk about personal protective equipment, and particularly gloves. When I started beekeeping 40 years ago, no one wore gloves. They all went through the hives barehanded. In fact, they just wore tiny little veils and often a sports jacket. This meant that you had to handle your bees very gently, and if you had bees which were bad-tempered, you'd requeen. Then the bee suits came out and you could go into a hive with a suit of armour on where whatever you did, you wouldn't get stung. The neighbours may well get stung. And the gloves I'll show you first are these leather gloves with gauntlets, which now every new beekeeper seems to buy. These are terrible. When you put these on and go to lift a frame, you cannot feel bees under your fingers. And you then crush the bees. That annoys the bees, irritates them. It also risks spreading disease as the other bees have to clear up the dead bodies. The bees then sting these gloves. They are very difficult to clean, and the sting scent, the pheromone, is left in these gloves, so next time you go back to the colony, they're already on alert. And as you're trying to put your frames back into the colony, the little bits at the end of the fingers get stuck under the frame. You then pull them out and the frame clunks down and again annoys the bees. The gloves I like are these nitrile, or you can get vitrile gloves. They fit tightly. The bees can sting through them, but they don't often do so. And if they do, you can just pull at the side of the bee and it pulls the sting out, so you get a very low dose of venom. These come in different lengths, and so you can get a length that will go further up your arm if you want to. In between these, people do use marigolds. They're not as bad as the leather gloves, but again, you cannot feel the bees under your fingers. And as you put your fingers round the ends of the frames, there will very often be bees there. If you slide with very thin gloves on, you can feel the bee and you can slowly move so that the bee gets out of your way. With thicker gloves, you don't do that and you crush the bees. Many experienced beekeepers go through barehanded, and a lot of the time that's fine, but sometimes you find that the bees respond to your scent, your animal scent. In Scotland, I've heard that the army use Avon Skin So Soft to deter midges, and so I started using this, and it works remarkably well. It's slightly oily, which means that the bees have trouble getting a grip before they sting you. It also contains a number of scents, some of which have been shown to have an effect on the bee to calm it down. Linalool and phenylethyl alcohol are two of the main ones, scents that are found in rose and lavender and many other flowers. So a good squirt of this on the back of your hands, and that hides from you the scent, your animal scent, and I find that the bees very rarely sting me. So have a think. Those leather gloves that you've got will still come in useful for when you're pruning a rose, but don't use them on your bees.